I hate to break the fishing news up, Yaremchuk, but I'd like to speak about the ice hockey.
Congratulations, you're one of the 13 listeners of the Real Life Podcast.
We just traded a migraine in for like an orgasm.
Might want to mark that down, Yaremchuk.
Yep. All of my projects are on schedule until they're not.
A member of the Nation Network of Podcasts.
About as funny as we're going to get today.
Episode 251 of the Real Life Podcast. Hello, I'm Tyler Yaremchuk. This podcast is always brought to you by Oodle Noodle, 14 locations in Edmonton. Not only good for your hunger, but as we've been saying since the start of the pandemic, it's good for the local community because a proceed from every in-store or curbside pickup order goes back into the community in the form of a donation to a local charity. So good stuff, as always, from our friends at Oodle Noodle. Over $100,000 raised and counting. Gonna bring in the people that will be on today's podcast, but I will start by saying, if you're one of the people who messages me and says, the audio quality would be better if everyone could just sit in one spot for the entire episode, you are absolutely not getting your wish on today's episode. Chalmers is here. He's in his truck. Jay is walking outside and told me he has to go get gas in the middle of this podcast. Wanya's here. Baggedmilk's still not here. Wanya, we are already recording. We are already live.
Oh, shit.
Yep, Baggedmilk's here as well. I love this.
They're live already, buddy.
Man, we were having a good conversation, and then it got cut short because of the podcast we didn't know started.
Yeah.
We do a pre-game show, Jay, as well. A pre-game show, me and Baggedmilk.
Well, why don't you record it?
No, because we talk about some shit we could never, ever say.
Yeah.
You know how when you're having a conversation on the podcast, you're like, I should probably end this sentence?
Yep.
We don't have to in our pregame show because it's just the two of us.
Yep.
I believe that's also called a phone call.
No,
it's
we're practicing. We're talking like we're on a podcast.
Okay, I see.
We even got the radio voices going on like that.
Yep. You mix in some ad reads just into your everyday conversation?
For fictional companies that don't exist. Noodle King.
Sorry, I'm muting everyone for a second because Jay is connecting to his truck's audio, and there was a ton of feedback there.
Hey, speaking of Noodle King, it's gone further. We found out its president's name is Ray Upton, and they're trying to beat us to Calgary.
Actually, you know what? Ray Upton just followed me on Twitter, actually.
Is Ray Upton on Twitter?
Yeah, Ray Upton just followed me on Twitter. It is at Ray Upton News.
Hey, you know who Ray Upton kind of looks like? Kind of looks like Jason Garrison, the former Oiler, a little bit.
Yeah, he does a little bit look like Jason Garrison. I agree with that.
Ray Upton, you son of a bitch.
Oh, man. It's a war he wants. He's now taking claim to Lacombe.
Now, you have to remember my original dream. So, for anyone who's listening, and there aren't many of you, but I have a pad of paper beside my bed where I write down things I dream about to go back in the morning and laugh at. And this one night, I had a dream that there was this company that started out to compete with Oodle Noodle called Noodle King. And in my dream, Jay was like, man, there's this restaurant, and they were opening up like across the street from every Oodle Noodle, and they were advertising with a better Oilers nation in my dream, and they had an Oiler as their spokesman. And in my dream, we were like, holy shit, Noodle King is 10 steps ahead of us. So we spoke it into existence, and now, my God, they're onto it.
It's coming.
They certainly are, but they do not have 14 locations Edmonton-wide, and they have not donated over $100,000 to charity, and I question whether they ever will.
If Ray Upton has his way, they will.
The handful of things to get to today. I want to talk Oilers. I want to talk a little Matt Tkachuk. I want to a bunch of stuff. But Chalmers, before we started recording, you said you had a rant to go on, and I never want to turn down a chance to hear a good Chalmers rant. So everyone, let's give Chalmers the floor.
Okay, well, it's not so much of a rant as it is just an interesting fact. I'm sure everybody's been watching what's been going on in the world in the last couple of days in the stock market. And
stonks! This is now a stonk podcast.
It's hard to avoid, yes, but I want to further the story as opposed to giving everybody the idea of what shorting a stock is because I am no expert.
Yeah,
so here is the way that I am going to forward it with a very interesting sports angle that I found out today. I read an article, and I thought it was just absolutely mind-blowing. So the guy that started this whole shorting of GameStop, his name is Chamath Palihapitiya or something. He's a part owner of the Golden State Warriors and a tech world hero in Golden State.
Oh, I know who that guy is. He is a hero. That's a well good put.
he decided he was going to start a war against the hedge funds. And in general, he was going to start one with Melvin Capital, who is owned by a guy named Gabe Plotkin. Gabe Plotkin just recently purchased a stake off of Michael Jordan for the Charlotte Hornets. And so after yesterday's whole thing about what happened, which could bury Melvin Capital, Mark Cuban came out and sided with Chamath Palihapitiya. And he's basically saying that hedge funds have been having their way with the general public and that it's an unfair game, the system is rigged. And so what we see happening out in public, I think, is interesting because it has a very, very large tie to the NBA. And it's basically rich billionaire owners fighting with each other. And I just think it's absolutely crazy because in the last couple of days, all I've been hearing is the headlines of this guy, Chamath Palihapitiya, is taking down the hedge fund. Mm-hmm. And the story behind the story is a lot more grim. Like, these hedge funds, yes, have been having their way, but these are real people. These are hedge funds that manage millions and billions of dollars worth of, like, public money, like school pensions, like this. And they're losing real money. And so for anybody to think this guy's a superhero because he saw this, I give him credit for being clever. I do. And for finding a way, and hopefully some real good change comes out of this. But, like, this little NBA spat of really rich owners is directly affecting the people that the hedge fund manages their money, which are working class people, and the people that now bought into it and are losing their money because the GameStop is going like it's really tanking today. And so it's interesting to me, that whole thing. That's the side under the story. You know?
I'm gonna hop in really quickly here, and I'm gonna mute everyone, and I'm gonna put in a new rule on the podcast. If you're driving somewhere and you're not talking, you need to mute because it sounded like Chalmers did that whole hit with like the wind blowing behind him.
That's fair.
For real?
But it's all good. Anyways, I don't know anything about the stock market, but it's been a fascinating story to watch.
I'd like to get Wanye's view on this whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's a weird take on it, Chalmers. Now I maybe don't know if I know enough to talk about what I thought I knew.
I thought it was a lot deeper than just that individual because it's like a whole Reddit investor community that's kind of leading the charge because it's a bunch of retail investors that are propping up
using the Robinhood app.
I follow that. I've been following Wall Street Bets for about 6-7 months now. And this has been a project they've been working on. Like the first time I heard about this, the GameStop play that they executed was just
so
after
explain
Christmas.
Wall Street Bets, Baggedmilk. Let's just talk about this. This is exciting. Chalmers told his bit. Now you say what you know, and then I'll say what I think.
Wall Street Bets is a subreddit where
Reddit is a message board where you can talk about whatever the hell you want.
Yep, and then Wall Street Bets is a column within that, if you will. So basically what it is people going in and they talk about investing of all different types. Some people talk about their love of options. Others are just pure equity owners. Others like to short. Others want to play in margin accounts. There's anything you can imagine is in there. But around Christmas, just after Christmas, they all started getting together this idea of mass buying GameStop shares because it was so heavily shorted. It was like at a 95% short position or something like that.
So explain a short, Baggedmilk.
So a short, essentially, if you don't know, you're basically betting on the stock to fail. If the stock is $10, you're betting on it to go zero. So what you're doing is you're buying stocks, you're selling them. You're selling your stocks with the promise of giving them back to whoever you bought them from. At the short position, you make money on the shorts, they get their stocks back. That's basic, right?
So if you decide to short a stock and it's $10 and you buy the short, it's like you can buy it like a stock. You buy it for whatever price, quarter.
That's right.
And it falls from $10 down to $9. It falls $1. You make $1.
You make $1.
You make more, the more it goes down.
The problem is, however, what happened yesterday was these hedge funds, they had a short position so high in GameStop that as it kept growing and the stock price kept going up and up and up and up and up, they had to buy back in or they were just going to get their shirts handed to them, and it's called a short squeeze. So there was a short squeeze in place yesterday that was perfectly executed, and now there's all these hedge funds that had short positions on GameStop that really, really fucked themselves.
And this happened because the internet got together and decided, rather than Goldman Sachs having $1 billion, a whole bunch of people were going to get together on Reddit and make the same trade and fuck over Wall Street.
Yeah, so, and I know I'm screwing up some of the details on it, I get that, but like for the most part, that's what's going on. And as you were going into Wall Street Bets and following it yesterday, the interesting thing now is that I was telling Wanya before we started recording, because we were talking about this, that now there's all kinds of bot accounts that are in there signing up for new accounts and subscribing to the subreddit, trying to pitch new stocks for people to rally behind. So it's like a real big clusterfuck of misinformation in there right now, and it's turning into a mess.
So, Chalmers, how does that plug into what you're talking about?
So what you're saying is that hedge funds are losing billions of dollars, but those are real people's money. And the way that it ties in is Michael Jordan.
But how is the guy from the Golden State Warriors arranging for Reddit to do what he said?
Well, he's the one that noticed it. He's a very smart guy, and he's the one that basically led the charge in this whole thing.
So he did an interview being like, "Hey, let's get together and fuck over this short position."
Yeah, basically. But the way that ties into Michael Jordan is he has a chance to lose a lot of his wealth, like here, because he just sold part of his company to guys that might not be able to afford it. With that money, they signed a guy named Gordon Hayward.
Gordon Hayward. God, I couldn't remember his name.
Brian Hayward, former Montreal goalie.
Like, it's just starting to affect a lot of things. And to say that, Wall Street got fucked. Well, Wall Street manages regular Joe's money.
Well, it depends. It depends how much the minimum buy-in of the hedge funds were that were short.
Yeah, you're witnessing the control that hedge funds have, and that's kind of, I think, what they're trying to exploit. The real victims, Chalmers, is not billion-dollar Michael Jordan. It's the guys that are seeing all this craziness and jumping in on it, not knowing what the hell's going on, and making big bets and losing everything because that stock went up to like $450 today or whatever the hell it was, and then proceeded to like drop another $150. The retail guys are jumping in, not knowing what's going on.
They're jumping in, Jay, losing for the most part, going long on it to fuck over.
But no. The people on the from the Reddit, like that Reddit community that know what they're doing, understand what's going on. But just Joe investor's going to see this as like a life opportunity of a lifetime, and he's just going to leap in, and right before his eyes, he's going to lose his life savings in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, so now we're getting a really bad echo when Jay talks, which means that someone else's audio is fucked up, so I'm just going to hop in quickly and say that. But anyways, the next point on the investing talk.
God, this has to be so annoying for you, Chuck.
Oh, yeah, it's driving me nuts.
The thing that I think that Jay's 1,000% right, because as you were seeing the stocks shoot the moon yesterday, maybe it took a day or so to get some money into your brokerage account, and then you bought at whatever, $4.50 this morning, only to have 50% of your money disappear in a snap.
Yeah.
That's the people who are FOMO betting on this, and that's a big hit to take, especially if you're not used to investing or even just the volatility of.
Well, maybe don't make as obscure an investment play as getting involved in this hornet's nest. Then
but uneducated investors will just see it as only like a can't lose opportunity. Like, there's going to be people that lead that Reddit group that have made a shit ton of money that were sold at its peak, like millions and millions of dollars off of small bets. So unfortunately someone always has to lose in that. And hedge funds are going to get squeezed and they're going to lose some money, but they'll figure it out on their next play. But it's just the public, retail, uneducated investor I really feel for, because they would have just jumped into this blind and lost, like, if they have $25,000 of savings, they might have just lost half or all of it.
If they put all their money into GameStop shorts, they lost that much money?
No,
they would have bought in right in the high. They wouldn't have the ability to do a short because you need to have margin to set up a short.
They own I thought GameStop went up in value as a result of all this.
I'm saying the people that have been watching this just shoot up, being like, "Holy shit, this is going up! I got to get in." Yeah. Obviously, the people that are propping up the stock are they're making their money, but it's the people on the outside in the stands watching this, being like, "I got to get in on this," and that's the people that are going to pay the price.
Yeah. So what to Jay's point, like first thing this morning when the bell kicked off, it was at $4.69 US. And as we're recording right now, it's $2.30 US. That is a massive haircut if you bought in at the top. And you know there are people that did. To me, it honestly reminds me of in 2017 when there were people mortgaging their house on the Bitcoin bubble. And I hope there's not a bunch of people that did that on this. But, you know, while there are people that made a shitload of money, when I first saw this play on Reddit around Christmas, GameStop shares were at about $19, $20. And now, in hindsight, you've been like, "Oh fuck! I wish I would have kicked in some money." But you know, there are people that bought this morning.
So further to it, AMC was another company they were going to do it to, which is a large movie theater chain. The owner of that company has ties to the NBA as well. I think in part ownership group.
So what? They were shorting it, or they're trying to bet it up.
No, they were going to. They was the next play after GameStop. But what's going to stop? I mean, we'll get off this topic in a second. But what's going to stop the owner CEO of a company like GameStop that knows they are going to go out of business and trying to ramp this kind of like buying fury of his stock up?
He better have exercised all of his fucking stock options and sold everything. They should have issued a ton of more shares to then turn into a bunch of cash to save GameStop. That's what they should have done. If they did it, I don't fucking know, but it's a wild fucking story.
It is a wild story. Like if you I don't know how much time you guys spend in stock TikTok, but I like it a lot. I find it fun and entertaining. That's all they're talking about right now is what's going on.
Stock TikTok rules the world, man, and Reddit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the stock, like even my TikTok, and I don't know shit about this stuff. Every second TikTok for me is something about this stock stuff. I've been forced to learn.
It's a crazy way to do business. Like we didn't grow like the kids that have the power now are people who are masters of Reddit and like TikTok and like they can move.
You're fucking talking to them, Chalmers. What
They can move the line. Well, definitely not. I'm going to start getting my kids on the computer in message rooms.
That is not advice.
I wouldn't let him in there because
on behalf of the internet, don't do that.
Yeah, can I give your son my life savings to invest for me?
No, he's not going to do that. He's not going to be smart like that. He just has to learn. He has to learn the ins and outs so he can move lines.
I think that like when it comes to stuff like this, there's a cat and mouse game always with like financial instruments, right? So Alberta used to have its own stock exchange back in the day, just for Alberta companies. And it was like a fairly regular thing that a little company would float itself on the Alberta Stock Exchange and raise money for a variety of shit, right? And over time, it was like the wild, wild west. So many fraudsters would take advantage of listing themselves on like a poorly regulated stock exchange, telling a whole bunch of lies about themselves to people to get them to buy their stock or doing any number of shady things. And then the whole thing's fake and they just cash the fuck out and take all the money. Right?
Baggedmilk, why do people call it stonk? What does that mean? I don't.
That's the meme world, baby. Gotta get involved in the old meme world.
But where did it come from? Like, what is it?
Stonks only go up.
So there's a series of memes, Chalmers. I'll explain it to you. Listen, there's a series of memes that's like lifted off of a business textbook, and it has like a stylized businessman talking and doing things, right?
Okay.
So the meme was just to make fun of business. So he's pointing to a chart that's going through the roof, and rather than saying stocks, he calls them stonks, right? So GameStonks, Elon Musk tweeted GameStonks, which is basically a nod to that, but GameStop. And the nerds, we all love that shit.
Love it.
Love it. When Elon tweeted that, I was like, we have now arrived at a short squeeze for the Asians. I think that, so what I think about this, like, as you go through life and you have a regulator that's trying to make sure the market is fair, people getting together on Reddit and banding together and deciding to make a stock play like this, I don't know that it is illegal. Truly.
Well,
I don't think it is.
I want to know that too, because I don't understand what's the difference between a group of people on Reddit doing it as opposed to some hedge funds doing the same thing to short a stock.
Well, and not only that, what would prevent somebody from starting up like a club of 50,000 members? Yeah, and it's all this new class of day trader. You just get together and pool your moves and like manipulate prices, right? But that's what the regulators are for. The regulators would then look at the transactions and be like, are people acting together saying, I'm going to invest in TELUS because I think TELUS has a bright future? That's not illegal. But people being like, let's invest in TELUS for the next 19 days while we blow its price up 800%.
Yeah,
it's never happened before, right? But that's why they say stonks, Chalmers. That's why we laugh.
You know what's a stonk right now? You know what's a stonk right now? The Edmonton Oilers. They're a fucking stonk right now.
Through the roof.
They're not through the roof.
Are you buying or selling?
They are being shorted. Fuck, they are shorting us. The Edmonton Oilers are stonking the fans right now.
That's a good tie-in right there. I don't mind that.
I thought you were going to say
I did that for you, Yaremchuk.
Twig and berries are a stonk.
Yeah, I was actually about to hop in with if I could buy stock in Twig and Berries, I certainly would, because it would go through the roof. No judgment, no shaming.
Stock, Principal Skinner. You said it wrong.
No, I don't care. I'm just getting to the ad read. No fancy words, just real men. And if you use the promo code NATION15, you get 15% off. And just so many different products. At first, it's their own line of nutsack underwear, which are tremendous. I'm wearing mine right now. But they got face masks. They got their ODR collection. And for me, I've said this 100 times now. As a good Ukrainian boy, I love a good sale section. And Twig and Berries has a good sales section as well. So check them out, twigandberries.ca. Support local. That is a good local company. And now back to the Oilers talk. They blew a third period lead to the Winnipeg Jets, and that was incredibly frustrating to watch. Jay, I get the sense you have a strong take on this.
Well, it's just so disappointing. Like, you set yourself up to win a game and then absolutely shit your pants and fall asleep for 5 minutes and allow 900 goals to be scored. And then it was just frustrating. Like, that was a game to show the league that we are serious and back to 500. And the fact that we just fell apart like we did was so bad. And then the fact that with the last minute to play, we don't have Connor McDavid on the ice. We're not using our timeouts. Like, we do all these lineup changes. We before the game to try to change something that isn't broken. And then, there's just so much shit that happens to really make you upset with that game.
Okay, but here's how I viewed it. We've been talking about the Oilers for years about how they have a hard time closing out games. In the third period, they let the teams back in. And the other night, when they beat Winnipeg with the last second goal, we said, it's the time. They did it. They started to let a game get away from them, but they stopped it, and they won. And this was just them reverting back to the mean that they always were like, and it's disappointing to watch because we got a glimpse of them not doing it. And, like, that game, we seemed very in control of that game. And then in a matter of 3 minutes, we were very out of control of that game and had zero momentum to try to get back into it.
We got to start burying our fucking chances.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, Cassian's got to score.
I was also surprised that Dave Tippett didn't take timeout. Even first of all,
people were pissed like he didn't even care if the Oilers won the game or not.
Exactly. First, when the wheels started to fall off, I thought he might have challenged that goal that looked like it could have been offside. I know there are new rules.
Oh, that would have been that would have been that. You know what? I think I support him not, because that was too close to overturn and would have resulted in a penalty.
See, I don't mind that either, but I also think it would have maybe just calmed things down a bit, even with a resulting penalty. I get why he didn't do it. That one doesn't upset me. What I didn't understand, though, was why Connor wasn't on the ice at the end of the game when they're down a goal.
Well, yeah, and Gregor pointed out, he was like, McDavid and Draisaitl were on the ice for like a minute 20, and then McDavid scored. But if you're not going to take a timeout then, when are you going to take the timeout? And I was hard on Tippett about this after the game on Twitter. Like, I kind of said, that's sort of inexcusable. And Gregor kind of said, your third line, they were rested. You needed to get McDavid and Draisaitl off the ice for a bit. I would have called the timeout, went right back to McDavid and Draisaitl, because we've seen them play for 2.5 minutes at a time before, and they're fine. But this is also a comment on the Oilers having just brutal depth right now. And if Turris, Cassian, and Neal, at a combined capita of almost $10 million, can't force an offensive zone faceoff in 30 seconds, what are we doing here?
If I could give my take on what I think could be in Tippett's mind when he doesn't call a timeout there is, this is an early game in the season, right? And at that point, you see the Oilers reverting back to getting into a difficult position. And sometimes you might want to see, especially early, because now is when you're going to want to know it, is can they play themselves out of it without it? Let them get into this mess and get themselves out of it. right?
Not when you're going to be 3-5 in a 56-game season.
Well, I don't
you
know.
Have to go and win. You have to go and win that game.
Sometimes you gain the most strength and you learn the most when you got your back against the wall. And taking a timeout in that moment is like, taking them out of that learning. You're saying to step back. Let's process this. We'll process it quicker. You guys got to learn how to process this shit quicker. You don't need a timeout. If you're saying a timeout just to get bodies back to, to get their legs back, to get their breath back, okay, I get that. But if you're trying to get their mind right, early in the season is maybe when you should allow them to try to get their mind right a little quicker to see if it works.
Yeah, like I understand that, and I think there's a lot of people, like, after that loss, a lot of people were upset, and I understand why, but like they also woke up that next morning in a playoff spot. And I know it's because the Flames have played like a lot less games than them and all that shit, but like they're in the hunt. Like it's not like they've started the year 1-7 like the Senators or whatever, and they're just like.
But why are we ahead of the Flames, Chuck? Why are we ahead of the Flames? Because we played almost double the games.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm saying I just said because part of it is because we've played more games, but we also haven't played the Flames yet. We're gonna have time to maybe build up a lead if we can beat the Flames in the head-to-head matchups. But like they're in the hunt. The worst case scenario, even after the Flames play all those games, is that the Oilers would be.
This isn't the NFC East. Having a losing record is not okay.
The Oilers are now out of the playoff spot as of this point.
Is it because the Canucks won? Yeah.
I won't be satisfied until this team can show me that they're not going to do exactly what I thought they were going to do and what I hoped they weren't going to do, and that is one game, one good game, one bad game, one good game, one bad game. I've said it a million times. When they go on a 3-game winning streak, that's when I'll start to think, okay, this team's got something here. But up until then, I'm going to expect them to come out on fire tonight and win, and then lose Saturday, win Sunday. And that's what I'm expecting because that's what I've seen so far.
I wouldn't bet against you either.
You're not wrong to think that. Like, they need to start proving us wrong.
This would be a perfect time to go on a 3-game win streak.
100%. Statement. Playing the Leafs twice,
exactly.
that sends a message. And then you got Ottawa coming in, and you should be able to beat them up, or we'll probably just play. We'll probably beat the Leafs twice and lose to Ottawa.
Yeah.
What's the deal? Like, they really want to get this Calgary Edmonton rivalry going by withholding us until the first game, until the Saturday of Super Bowl. So next Saturday, basically, like not the one coming up, but the next one. And then, like, we still have 10 more games against them. Like, they waited a long time for us to get our first game in with them.
They're just waiting for every other team in the league to piss off Matt Tkachuk so he can be at peak anger when he has to play Edmonton.
Did you see him go full on baby mode the other day?
Oh, yeah, I did.
But honestly, what are you doing saucing one?
Take your medicine, man.
Yeah,
you dipped it out. Take your fucking medicine.
It's not like Jake. It's not like Jake Muzzin spat on him. Like, he flipped a puck at him.
I wish he took a slap shot. Like, he flicked the puck, and to have a tanty like that. Okay. Oh boy.
We all wish he would have put a sauce right in his chest. That's not the point. The point is number one, that's an unsportsmanlike conduct, and number two, I expected Matt Tkachuk to get mad about it. Now, what he did after when he's leaving the ice, though, that's where I go, okay, this guy's a loser.
Yeah,
he's not a loser. He's not a loser, Chalmers. He understands getting under your skin.
Yeah.
Oh, but he was the triggered one. They got under his skin.
But he's always in the mix, isn't he? There's never an
You could tell his teammates when they had to turn around and go into that scrum were like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, we just lost. Now I have to go grab Pierre Engvall in a scrum and like deal with this shit for 20 seconds. Anyways, I don't know. Like, he's just easy to get. It's easy to get under his skin, I think. And that's why Muzzin did that. It's like, hey, and remember the night before, Tkachuk made a pretty greasy play on top of Jack Campbell, kneeing him in the back of the head.
Oh, yeah,
so,
100%.
Like, if you're Tkachuk, like, and you sat there and went, oh, I didn't do anything. Oh, I didn't mean to knee him in the head. I just fell accidentally, and my knee smoked him. Like,
don't get me wrong. There is 2 people in the NHL which are certified shitbags right now, and their last names are both Tkachuk.
Yeah. All right. We're running late here for our hit with Scott Hastings, so I'm going to bring on Scott. We're going to talk a little sports betting here and keep talking a little bit of hockey as well. And you know what? Scott's a Leafs fan, so we'll probably get his take on that Tkachuk thing as well. I'm sure he has a great measured take. Scott Hastings from OddsShark.com, the spot where you can become a better and make the sharper play. Scott, wow, I just stuttered there hard as I typed Scott's name into my phone. They got sports lines, they got information, they got places where you can go make smart bets as well. Pretty much everything you need is over at OddsShark.com. Scott Hastings joins us now on the pod. We were just talking about the Jake Muzzin, Matt Tkachuk incident. What's your take on that?
Yeah, not surprised. It's boys being boys, I guess, and that's typical Tkachuk getting into the nasty
typical
stuff.
Tkachuk. Scott, come on. Make a comment about the sauce into the chest. What do you think about that, honestly?
I didn't see anything wrong with that. Typical Tkachuk being a typical Tkachuk.
All crazy. Your hatred for Matt Tkachuk has clouded your judgment on what is sportsmanship. What is just
Chalmers.
Like, that's
Chalmers, you thought that was bad?
You don't shoot a puck at a guy who's on his knees.
You gave that a shot. He flipped it out.
It was a little flip.
He sauced
no
it. Go back and look at it.
It is
a straight up saucer pass into his chest.
Chalmers, one of your kids could shoot the puck harder than that, Chalmers.
Oh my God!
It doesn't matter. You don't shoot the puck in the net after the whistle, and you don't shoot the puck at a person when they're on the ground after the whistle.
Oh my God! You're using shoot so liberally.
Okay, flick it. You don't flick it. You don't aim and project a puck towards another player after the whistle.
Who did it in the playoffs a few years ago? Was it against Joe Thornton? Jeez, that's
there was a time a long time ago. Didn't Alfredson fire a puck at Niedermeyer?
Alfredson did, yeah. He turned around and ripped one.
Right. That's right. Yeah, I knew it was a vet player. It was Scott Niedermeyer. You're right. Yeah. So
if straight up, like Lars Eller or whatever, some guy from Vancouver did it to Cassian when he's on the ice. Would you guys be saying the same shit?
Yeah, I literally wouldn't care.
I'd be happy if Cassian snapped and went after him, but like I wouldn't be. I'd be like, that's hilarious. Like, good. Like there is way worse shit that happens every game than that.
But that's not what we're talking about right now. anyways, let's get to betting. You guys are driving me crazy.
Scott, Canadian division, it's in a way almost going like we expected, like Leafs and Habs on top, or I should say, the experts expected. In terms of the sports books, which Canadian team's been delivering the best here? Who's been the most profitable early in the year?
I was going to flip that question on you guys. Who do you think is the number one North team right now? Actually, the number one North team is also the number one team in the league, profit-wise.
Montreal.
No. Is it Winnipeg?
Winnipeg is the correct answer. They've profited, if you back them with a $100 bet for every game, you've profited $236, which is $9 more than Florida and $13 more than Dallas. So those are your big three. And that doesn't come as any surprise there, as Winnipeg hasn't been a big favorite against in any of their matchups, and has even won, I think, twice as an underdog. So it sort of makes sense with a 5-2 record that Winnipeg would be leading the charge. I would have thought Montreal, but a couple of their wins, they were sort of heavily favored. They were about minus 150, whereas Winnipeg hasn't been up in that range yet. So that's why they have the edge over the Habs.
Interesting. Winnipeg, I guess, off to a good start here. You mentioned Dallas and Florida, who I believe they're both, like, were they not 3-0 both to start the year or something like that?
And remain so, yeah.
Yeah. Are those two teams that maybe the sportsbooks might overvalue a little bit now just because like they got off to such a hot start? But I mean, you could look at it and go, well, they're rested. Every other team had been playing for a while. Like, is that maybe a spot to look at fading going forward?
Well, it is potentially, but it's also, when you have one loss, that's it. That's a minus $100 on your profits there. So although they're sitting 2-3 at $227 and $223, Florida and then Dallas, one loss, and then they're back right in the middle of the pack. So I wouldn't look too much into it. It's just a matter of they've only played 3 games, and that's why they're so profitable, is that they haven't lost yet. Once they lose, which inevitably will happen, they're not going to go 56-0, and then they'll revert right back to the norm.
We talked a lot about how the Canadian division could just be a shootout every single night. Have we been seeing that? Have overs been hitting a little bit more consistently than maybe they would in regular years?
Yeah, especially Vancouver. They're the number one over bet right now at, I believe they were 7-2 for the over. And that's just simply they haven't got the goaltending they were hoping for with Braden Holtby. And I think there was a lot of pushback or criticism about letting Markstrom go and then bringing in Holtby. I thought it was an okay move at the time, and now it does not appear that I was in the right column for that one.
You know what's annoying is they were a 6.5 point favorite, or a 6.5 point was the over under last night, and it was under with them scoring 5 goals.
Yeah, I know, brutal.
I hate that so much.
Yeah, betting on the NHL sometimes just feels like such a frustrating coin flip. One of the things I've been keeping an eye on over at OddsShark is your colleague Joe Osborne. He's been red hot with his NBA player props. He's basically just taking point total over-unders, and he's like, 19-2 or some shit right now. Flipping that to NHL, Scott, is there a way to give yourself an edge when you look at maybe point totals or goals for individual players in a game, or for the most part, is it just kind of a crapshoot?
Yeah, I compare NHL similar to NFL in that it's like a touchdown score. If you're going goal scorer, there can be good value there if you can look for a second line player. But it can be a bit of a crapshoot because you could see a team, Toronto, for example, Wayne Simmons is scoring a goal. It's not a guy that you're going to bet frequently, but when he does hit, he's probably plus 300. So it's one of those things very similar to NFL touchdown scores where it's a little bit of a close your eyes and pick one. That said, I mentioned it quickly right at the end of last week's one was Austin Matthews over shot total. I've seen that most books have elevated that up to 4.5 shots. That's where it gets a little tricky. But if you can find it at 3.5 shots, the over all day. It hit in the last 40 games of the regular season. It hit 32 times, and this year I think he's 4-2 for the over. So that's a really good one. And same with Connor McDavid. I found that both McDavid and Matthews have been getting a ton of ice time. And of course, if they're on the ice a lot, they're going to put the puck towards the net. So those are two ones that the juice isn't as nice as the player point totals in the NBA. Sometimes it's a little more hefty for both McDavid and Matthews. You might get minus 180 in there, but hey, if it hits, it hits.
One guy I'm looking at tonight, Mitch Marner. He's gotten 3 shots on goal in 3 of his last 5 games and 2 in a row, and he's paying minus 115 to get over 2.5 shots tonight. That's one that interests me.
Yeah, well, and the thing about you could play both Mitchie and Matthews because they're playing on that top line, and defensively these teams have to figure out which one they're going to shut down because it's so both of them are so incredibly talented. And I found in the early stages, of course, we're only 8 games in, so it's all early stages. But through the first 3 or 4 games, there was a lot of emphasis on shutting down Austin Matthews, and then that provided Marner a little more room to work, and that's why we see him up towards the top of the league in points. And I think that'll come down a little bit when more attention gets put on him. But on the flip side, you're going to see Matthews start going on a tear. So it's a double-edged sword there.
So Scott, one of the reasons I really like having you on this segment is because I learn a lot from you, and there's some things that have to do with betting that I just can't figure out. And so I'm going to ask you a couple betting questions if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
The first one might be simple, but why is it that sports books will not? They offer the spread, they offer the money line, and then they offer the over under. Why is it that they won't let you parlay the spread and the over-under? Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I don't know. There are some, I believe Bet365, I'm not supposed to promote other books, but Bet365, I'm pretty sure will allow you to do that at certain games. But I know they let you parlay touchdown scores, which is really intriguing. A lot of books won't do that. So if you get like 5 touchdown scores at plus 300 each, it's a big payday if you hit it. I'm not quite sure why they do it. They just don't like it double dipping, and it's very frustrating because a lot of times I do like a play on the side as well as the total.
So
one of those things.
So my second question would be: I've noticed in the props underneath, let's just say the Oilers and the Maple Leafs game tonight, there's a section where you can bet a double chance, and the double chance is there's three options. You can get Toronto Maple Leafs and a draw. You can get Edmonton Oilers and a draw, or you can get Toronto Maple Leafs and Edmonton Oilers. And every single one of them is around a negative 180 to a negative 200. What are those? What does that mean?
Yeah, so you're just given your option of, is it going to be Toronto or going to overtime, Edmonton overtime, or is it going to be just going to overtime? So that's when it's both of them. It's 1/2. That's more of a soccer bet. It's very interesting to see it move over into hockey, but I think a lot of books are based in Europe, so that's why you're going to see it flip side of that one. So I know in soccer it's based on halves. So you do, first half, second half.
I think you guys might be talking about two different things. So Chalmers, you're talking about the one where you would be betting on either the Edmonton to win or the game to go to overtime. That's what draw would be. And Scott, the one you're talking about, that would be like to be leading at half and to be winning the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So you can take like Leafs to win first half, Leafs to win second. This would be soccer terms. It would be like Leafs first half, Leafs second half, Leafs first half, Edmonton second half, and then you can play any variation of.
So I kind of get the double chance one in the fact that Edmonton Oilers and draw would be either the Oilers or a tie.
Yes.
Maple Leafs, same thing.
Yes.
But if it's Maple Leafs and Oilers, you're betting on them both to win?
No, you're betting on just the game to not go to overtime at that point.
Not go to overtime.
And I mean, right now, like that one's like minus 450 or whatever. Like it doesn't pay out.
Yes. Okay. That's great. That helps me because I have been trying to figure it out. And they don't really explain it all that well in the sportsbook. You can't just go to the FAQs and like, there's what is a double chance? You know what I mean?
It's more of a soccer bet, very popular. It's not really a bet I'd be willing to make in hockey.
There's horrible value in them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Scott, quickly before we let you go, Super Bowl, we're going to dig into it more next week. We're going to do a little props thing. But the early look right now, Chiefs -3, but that line might be moving. I heard that if you want to bet on the Chiefs, it's probably smart to do it sooner rather than later. Is that probably the right strategy here?
Yeah, I think so. Well, especially with the injury front, losing that offensive lineman for the season. So they're going to get more time with their backup there. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's still limited at practice. So I think when you find out more how their injury progressions are going and stuff, if everyone is ruled active, which I think they will, minus that lineman because he tore his Achilles. But I think that the more you hear that Kansas City is healthy, I think the more the line will swing in their favor. I don't think there's going to be a ton of movement in this one, though. Okay. I think at most we're going to see a -4 for Kansas City.
Interesting.
Wow.
But I think
seems like a no-brainer.
I think it's going to sit at 3, maybe 3.5. But I think at the upper limit it'll go 4. But I don't think it goes beyond 4.
Is that the Brady effect?
And I just think that Tampa Bay team has playmakers on both sides. And one of the interesting things against Green Bay is, Tom threw 3 straight interceptions, and Green Bay effectively didn't do much with it because the defense there is really, really sneaky. And Holden Rogers at shorter fields over and over again was very impressive. So not only do they have offensive weapons everywhere, Antonio Brown hasn't even shown himself in the playoffs. That guy's a stud. So I just think I think Tampa Bay is being a little undervalued here, but at 3 points is normal to me. But I think the conversation behind the Bucs, I think, is being a little disrespectful because I think they're a dangerous team.
Interesting stuff. Scott Hastings from OddsShark, as always, man. Appreciate your time.
Take care, guys. Enjoy the game tonight and the games this weekend.
Oh, hey, actually, quickly, before you go, Scott, the game starts at 11 p.m. your time tonight. Are you kidding me? Are you coffee and grind it out, or are you going to watch it in the morning?
Yeah, I'll watch the highlights when I wake up tomorrow. That's the benefit. I used to live in Edmonton, as I told you guys, and for the football, what's your first games are at 11 in the morning?
Yeah.
You got to start pre-drinking at 8, and that's a long party. Whereas here,
early bedtime.
That's it. Here it goes 2, 5, and then the 9 o'clock, 9:15 kickoff for the Sunday nighter. So it's time is a very interesting thing, isn't it?
It's always been so funny to me that the East Coast is kind of what drives everything, right? Like when it comes to sports, and the timing of sporting events seems so like made for the West. You know what I mean? Like Edmonton is, in my opinion, the perfect time slot for all sports.
Yeah. You guys or the Central, like the Chicago's, the 2 hour. The 2 and 3 hour is perfect in respect to Nova Scotia. The 2 and 3 hour is perfect. But yeah, we get the shaft out here, but it's even worse in Newfoundland. So there you go.
Well, I feel for you, buddy. I was complaining about an 8 o'clock start. I'm like, I'm going to be in bed at 11:30. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to hear it.
All right. See you, Scott. Have a good one.
Enjoy, guys.
All right. There you go. Scott Hastings from OddsShark.com. All the info you need to make a sharper
play. What are you
play.
worried about what time you have to go to bed? You're in your pajamas all day anyways.
Yeah, and I look good in them, too.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
so I might have to wake up and wash something. I just learned how to make a nice little air fryer breakfast that I'm pretty excited about. So I might get up in the morning and work those out now.
Tell us the recipe.
Tyler, you'll love this, man. It's so easy. It was like I followed this thing on TikTok, and it was basically just like bachelor meals in a fucking air fryer, and it's the best. All it is, a little piece of bread. You crack an egg on top of it. Put 1 piece of bacon, salt and pepper. I wrote it down. It's 360 for 8 minutes, and you're good to go.
And the egg cooks nicely and all that?
Cooks really nicely. The bacon just drains off down below the pan. It was lovely. I think that's going to be my new breakfast going forward.
Good
Baggedmilk, you'll be happy to know that I am now the owner of an air fryer, but its maiden voyage is getting delayed because I'm in the midst of moving. So until I move into the new house, I won't be able to start air frying. I'll be coming at you for some tips.
Spring.
Yeah, but I'm moving out of my house now.
Where are you going?
I'm living in limbo. I'm living out of the trunk of my car.
The nation truck. Gonna get a tent on the back of it.
Yeah. Living in my girlfriend's parents' house for 2 months.
Going back into that second room at the Castle Zach Lang.
Yeah.
Hey, your Chuck, I wanted to just tell you one thing. This morning I had a lengthy conversation with Wanye, and it had to do with basically my social media. He harps on me about it a lot, and that I am non-existent, and that I suck at it, and that my handle's annoying, and it's confusing, and nobody knows who the hell I am, and he wants me to get better. And so what I have done is a start. I have changed my usernames on Twitter and Instagram.
Ooh!
Oh, okay.
Who are ya?
Okay, so on, it's actually the same thing. So my middle name is Keith. So on Instagram, I am simply Chris K. Chalmers.
Wow.
And on Twitter, oh God, am I getting these mixed up? See, this is how bad I am.
No, that's your Twitter account, Chalmers.
Okay, so then my Instagram is, oh my
Chris
God.
K. Chalmers.
No, okay, Twitter is, yes, at Chris K. Chalmers. My Instagram is at Chris dot. Oh my God, I don't even know.
Chalmers.
Chris?
No, okay,
there's a Chris K. Chalmers who I thought you were, but that's a guy who is not you.
So Instagram is at Chris dot K. dot Chalmers, and Twitter is just Chris K. Chalmers.
I'm just going to put out a post on both saying this is where you can find Chalmers at, because I appreciate you making it so simple, but...
Yeah.
No, really?
Okay, I'm going to go back to Magarowski, and you can figure out how to spell it.
Yeah. Okay, well, you can find Chalmers at some combination of the name Chris Chalmers with a K and some underscores or something mixed in there. I don't know.
Go find him on MySpace. He will add you to his top 5.
I am not helping.
Well, I'll make sure I give Chalmers a proper shout out, and everyone can go follow him because he's promising to be more engaged online, is what I'm getting from all this.
I will. I just don't want to get in Twitter arguments. That's the one thing.
Okay.
If you try to get in a Twitter argument with me, I'm not going to do it. And if you get me to do it, congratulations.
You should actually just go out of your way.
Chalmers, you're going to do it.
I know.
They're going to get you. You're going to do it.
If you are listening to this podcast, just tweet at Chalmers or DM on Instagram that he's a cheater at fishing.
Or
just
tell him that
the proverbial puck his way at him, and he will come at you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you got it. If you didn't have a problem with Muzzin's saucer pass into his chest, at me, bro.
I did not have a problem with it. I will be adding you at chris.k.chalmers _.inc.
Ampersand.
No, it was hard. Listen, I tried to find two things on Instagram and Twitter that were very, very close. They're the exact same name, just on Instagram, I had to put dots in between them. You'll figure it out.
Yep. Our listeners are smart. They'll get it.
They are. Hey, are we gonna do it? When do we do Nate's profile, listener's profile?
Do we want to do one right now before we wrap things up? We got like 10 minutes left in the pod if we want it.
Why not? Why not?
Sure.
Let's wrap up with it.
Okay, let me just go to my document here. I need to double
People
check.
really like those. I've had people reach out to me and say that they really like them. It makes them feel like part of the family, and that's kind of important because it really it just drives the experience of it on, and it drives the engagement between us. I like it.
We're a community, man.
All right, so I'm going to go into the Instagram DMs. I'm going to find our friend at Jesse Herfst, Herfst. So I think you would say that Herfst, right? Herfst. There we go.
I don't know. How do you spell it?
His at handle is Toast140. So everyone can go.
I talk to him on BCast all the time.
Yeah, there you go. So Jesse, he is his number is 8.
Nice.
So
Strong.
okay.
Good man.
He goes by Jesse or Toast. His job is delivering the meats. Part-time hobby woodworker. For job he literally said delivering the meats. So I'm assuming he drives some sort of truck, maybe delivers meat. I don't know.
Does he work for Arby's? Does he got the meats?
That's what I assume, but I don't know. Anyways, fun fact about him: he once won an unofficial Wendy's Junior Bacon Cheeseburger eat-off. That's
unofficial.
Yeah, I don't know if there are official ones, but he's won an unofficial one.
Oh, I would please like to know more details about this unofficial, unsanctioned event.
Yeah, and also he recently joined the Air Fryer fan club, so there's that as well.
Respect.
That ties in nicely. Try Baggedmilk's breakfast recipe and let us know how it is, Jesse.
Fry or die toast.
Truly a movement, isn't it?
Fry or die toast. We're all in this together, buddy.
He started listening to the pod a couple of years ago. Some of his fave moments, he just said some fave moments are Chalmers and Sam Gagne. So just Chalmers in general and Sam Gagne.
I love you, Jesse.
He also liked the way back Wanye-Eberle episode. His favorite Oilers memory, he said it's got to be the 06 Cup run, Hemsky's goal against Detroit, and honorable mention to Eberle's first NHL goal. And he said he's hopefully planning a future trip to Edmonton to finally see them live on home ice. And he says, we don't have Oodle Noodle here. We have Noodle Canteen, and it's not as good. So he's excited.
Where does he live again?
I think he lives in BC here.
Yeah, Asix or something. I don't even know how to say it, but it's on his Instagram profile.
Yeah,
One thing I like about him is he reminds me of a regular old Ron Swanson from Community. He drives a meat truck, so he loves his meat. And if you look on his Instagram, he's a woodworker. Everybody's got to love a woodworker. But he's made like a table for his family, a bed bed frame, and a little playhouse for them. I mean, this guy's a man's man.
Let's do this. Let's plug his woodworking business. You can find it on Instagram at backwoodcustoms_. Backwood Customs _. And yeah, he's actually got some really cool stuff. I'm gonna follow him here. But yeah, like tables, he's made like a bed frame and stuff. This is really, really good stuff. Jesse, your woodworking is very impressive. I wish this podcast was the audio equivalent of your woodworking, because then it would sound a lot better. Is that a good one?
Well, you don't like when people are talking in the middle of a wind tunnel?
Anyways, that's Jesse on Instagram.
One day we'll get into the Dog Patch Studios, and we will be.
It'll be so good.
It'll be so nice to see you guys' faces again. It won't be nice to make the twice a week trek there. I don't mind telling you, I like doing it from my truck and being mobile. But man, is it going to sound good?
Yeah, it'll sound better once we can get back into the studio. That'll be a ton of fun.
Dare to dream, people.
Yep, dare to dream.
And then we won't be talking over each other as much because it's so hard. Because it's tough. Like everyone's on just small little screens, so we can't really prompt each other.
Haven't you noticed the first 5 minutes of every podcast is everybody trying to get their legs? Everybody just talks over each other for the first 5 minutes, but then everybody kind of settles in. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I don't think we would have that in studio.
No, we had that in studio as well. I remember the first few episodes, there would just be side conversations going on.
The first few episodes I did. For sure.
But no, we'll get it sorted out, hopefully. Anywho, episode 251 of the Real Life Podcast. Lots of stonks talk, which is fine by me. I find that interesting. And actually, we have people who say they like when we get into business talk and all that. So, yeah.
Go out and buy a low-cost index fund. That's it. That's all you need to know.
Are you a straight-up day trader, Baggedmilk, or what?
I do like it, yeah.
Is it more exhilarating than gambling? Is it less exhilarating? Is it like if you were if there were sports playing all day, like you could be a day trader and gamble. You just could do it on like soccer around the world. You know about as much as the things you're buying. You, but me.
For me, I feel like when I'm doing anything with stocks, I only stick within my wheelhouse. Whereas in sports betting, because of this podcast, I've really gotten into sports betting. I got some money on Jesse Puljujarvi on a goal tonight at plus 370.
Me too.
You got it. That's a good bet.
I had him last game. I thought it was his night.
But I find that there's way more variables in sports that are just you have no control over.
That's fair.
Yeah, like Redditors.
Redditors running the market, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, guys. Good show. I got to go.
Yep. See you, Jay.
Goodbye.
All right. And as Jay leaves, I think we'll all leave. That's episode 251 of the Real Life Podcast, brought to you by Oodle Noodle and Twig and Berries. 15% off at Twig and Berries with the promo code Nation15. Oilers Leafs tonight. It's a late one. Have your coffee, have your nap, all that good stuff. Enjoy the game. We'll talk again on Monday.
Great job on making it through the entire hour of the Real Life Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from.